Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Video Game Vittles, and today we are making the essential Brewfest pretzels and cheddar beer dip from World of Warcraft. Let's get into this recipe. First thing you want to do is 1.5 cups of warm water. This water you want to be about 115 degrees or your yeast will not work properly. With that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of brown sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. Take your little spoon here, mix it all together, kind of get everything blended and blended in and everything. You add 2 teaspoons of your instant yeast and stir it up, kind of get it all cohesive, blended, and you're going to let that sit for a few minutes to kind of activate that yeast in that nice warm water. Then the thing you want to do is 1/4 cup of melted and room temperature butter, and then start with 2 cups of flour. You're going to go for about 4 cups total. Mix it together, add another cup as needed, and then just kind of take your spoon here, and then you're going to mix it all together, kind of incorporate all that flour into that liquid. It's not going to look like it's going to go. It may look like you have too much flour, but I promise you, just keep working at it and work that flour into that dough. Add your final cup here. Mix it all together again. Like I said, it may not look like it's going to go, but I promise you it will go. Mix it together with your little spoon here. And then once it gets kind of all ready and it's not so sticky, you can go ahead and use your hands and just get up in there and mix it all together. Like I said, all this flour will incorporate into it, whether or not it looks like it. You just keep at it. Form that gluten. The gluten is what makes bread delicious. If you ever had anything that was gluten-free, you'll know exactly that gluten is flavor. And then you're going to turn this out onto a well-floured work area, which, as we all know, I am great at getting flour all over the place and getting pretty much anything on my countertop. So any recipe where I can just do that on my own is great in my opinion. You're going to mix that all together, kind of springs back a little bit, then you're going to place that into a bowl, wrap it with a little plastic wrap, and place it in a nice warm area. I set my oven to about 170 degrees, let it heat up, put it in there, and then turn the oven off, let it sit for about an hour until it rises up like this. See here, it is about doubled in size, a little airy. Don't want to, get it too deflated, but it doesn't need to be all high up like that. Turn it on the workspace, cut it in half, and then take your half and you're going to cut that into 5 segments. Just kind of roll it into a little log here and then make 4 slices, which will equal about 5 pretty much similar segments of dough. Do that. You roll it out into a cylinder about 20 inches long. You can kind of estimate and whatever works for you, but about 20 inches. And then you want to take your 2 ends, you're going to place them together like so, give it a little bit of a twist, bring it down to the bottom, kind of just press it and connect, and there you go. You have pretzel shape there. May take a little bit to get used to it, but once you get going, you'll find that it's a very simple thing. And if you want, you can actually turn these into like little nuggets. Just instead of twisting your log, take your log, just cut it into little nugget things, and pretty much the rest will be the same from here. And then take your other side again, roll it into a log, cut it into 5 segments, and then make those into some pretzels. Next thing you want to do is you're going to get 10 cups of water with 2/3 cup baking soda. Bring it to a boil like you see in the background there, and then turn the heat off and just let it be like a warm bath. You're going to place your pretzels inside here using a spoon to kind of put water on top of it and just till they puff up. And then once they puff up, you're going to put them onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. And don't be like me, actually spray your parchment. I did not spray the parchment, and you'll see later how I paid for that. Once they're done, just kind of scoop them out, place them onto your parchment-lined paper, and then finish that with the rest of your pretzels. Just making sure you ladle the water over them, kind of get them all well evened and somewhat partially cooked. This kind of just helps them puff up. You're going to take an egg with about a teaspoon of water and beaten up and just kind of brush them down. This will give you that nice golden brown color that you'll see. If you're like me, you have an electric stove or oven, it won't get as brown, but you'll still get a little bit of color to it. Just the nature of electric cooking. Take your coarse salt here. As you see, I got a little kosher salt. You can use sea salt. You can use pretty much any type of coarse salt that you have to give that little bit of a crunch and that sight of pretzel that you see when you go to the store. And then you're going to place those into a 400-degree oven for about 12 minutes, or till they're nice and golden brown and fully cooked through. Now for our cheddar beer dip here, we have 2 tablespoons of butter that we're going to melt down into on our skillet. Once that's melted, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, making your roux. You want to let that cook for about a minute or so, kind of cook that flour flavor out. And then you're going to take a pale low hop beer here, 1 cup of that, and you're going to place it in there and you're going to stir that. It should start to thicken immediately unless you're like me and didn't put full 2 tablespoons of butter, but it'll still work out, I promise. With that, it'll be a half cup of milk, and just going to bring that up to somewhat of a high boil until it starts to thicken, and then reduce it down. Add about a half teaspoon of mustard, about half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half teaspoon of paprika, but none of this has to be exact because pretty much just base it off your taste. Put a little in, taste it, you want some more, add some more. Who's going to stop you? It's your recipe. Not shown for whatever reason. You're also going to add a dash of Worcestershire sauce. I don't know where the footage of that went, but I did add the Worcestershire sauce, I promise, and it helps. Now here we got, after it's all cooked, turn your stove off, add 3 cups of cheddar cheese, and you're going to just stir it to melt all that cheese down. The reason why you want to turn your stove off is because cheese, if it gets too hot, will separate, and you'll end up with your curds at one end and some oily stuff that doesn't want to combine with anything at the other end. And nobody wants to be dipping their pretzels into that. A little salt and pepper to season as usual, and again, that is to your taste, not mine. So taste it and add what you want. Let's see here, we're going to plate up our cheese in our little dipping dish here. And then you see the pretzels have stuck. Like I said, spray your parchment, or you can be like me and just brute force it off there with your spatula, leaving the bottom part of your pretzel on the paper, but giving you a pretzel that you can bring to your plate. Turn it over, they don't know the difference. You see here, got my pretzels. Now for the all-important taste test. Pull it apart, dip it in, and look at that string cheese pull. Beautiful. And I'd say for somebody that doesn't like beer cheese actually tastes pretty good for me. In fact, that half a beer from making the cheese is still sitting in there in my fridge. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you for the next one. Have a good day.